What's going on, guys? This is Trey back with another video, and today I'll be showing you how to make maple syrup. I already showed you how to tap a tree and how to collect the sap and store it safely, and now you can see the 30-gallon drum behind me. I'll show you how to boil it and finally make it into maple syrup. I've been collecting for about 6 days, or 6.5 now, and I have roughly 6 to 6.5 gallons of sap. That'll make about 16 ounces of syrup. And again, it's 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup with a sugar maple tree. Or if you have a silver maple, that's around 60 gallons to 1. So you need 60 gallons of sap from the tree to boil down to make 1 gallon of syrup. And now I'll show you the process. So here I have my setup to begin with. And here, there's a lot of sap. And then I have this spout running to the outside. And then I have this filter here because I'll show you again. And here, you might be able to see all that black. That's all bark and other debris. We don't want that. You can boil it with that in, but I prefer not to. So I just took a clip, and this is just a, it's actually made from maple syrup, and you can get them on Amazon or tapmytrees.com, and there's a bunch of other sites. So I just did that to the bucket. So then I open it, and you can see the sap flows through the filter and then down into the bucket. And that way we'll have nice, clean, pure sap. And then as this is draining, I just want to say again, you can keep sap in a storage container like this. Again, I tried to pile snow around it, and this is a spot where sun really won't hit it. It rises over there and over there. So the sun doesn't hit this and it'll stay cool. And you want to try to keep it as cool as possible. When it's like that, you can keep it for up to 7 days. But right now for our first week, I'm going to try and keep it only for 6. And then that way I can gauge how long it goes. And you can see, again, I'll look in here. It's perfectly clear. And to know when the sap's gone bad, it's like milk. You can't leave it out in the open for it to get hot, and it'll be very cloudy. That's when you know your sap has gone bad and you waited too long. And it's nice, clean from the filter, all in there. And that's probably maybe a gallon in there. Alright, so if you've watched my previous video, you've seen how I boiled the maple syrup, or the sap into syrup. There's the sap. I just have a camping stove. This is a gas one, not sponsored. And these are 2 big steam table pans. I put them on top. The flame will be down there, hooked up to propane, and it does a really good job. You just pour the sap in, which I'll show you now, and you just boil it down. So again, I just want to show every step. Here's the sap all drained out. There's barely any particles in it, and I'll pour this in now. These pans can hold up to 5 gallons, so I really like them. And also, you don't want to start the burners on until you have some sap in here, or it'll ruin the pan. It'll make it deformed and it won't be very good for the pan. So you want to at least have something in here so it can start up. And then I'll see you boiling. All right, so this is the sap in. I'm pretty sure we have roughly 5 gallons because these are each hold 5 gallons and they're both about halfway full. As you can see, it's very clear because it's all filtered out. And when you're lighting this, I have heard stories, it catches on fire. So make sure we have one right here. Just make sure you have a fire extinguisher, fire blanket, something to put out in case something went wrong. And always when you attach it here, make sure you do it as tight as possible, just to make sure there's no gas leaks and no fire or anything. And now I'll show you it lighted. Alright, so now we're ready to light everything. You have to open the gas first, so gas is going through. And then with a lighter, this uses a lighter, you have to put it on low, and then use a lighter, and then there we go. That one's lit. And then both of them are lit. So as you can hear, it is loud, and they're very high powered. So I really like this gas one grill. Might even be able to see some flames coming out the sides. Like I said, very high powered, so this should start to boil in just a few minutes. And also, when you're boiling, sorry if you can't hear me, you want to have this. This is a little screen mesh, so then you can actually see it already starting to evaporate. Turn it down, and that's like medium. So then once this starts to boil, it'll actually have foam. It'll be foaming, and then that's the impurities coming out. So you'll just want to do this back and forth, throw those impurities out, and then just take them, make sure no sap's there, and then just dump them. And then you just do that, and I'll show you that. All right, so I don't know if you can see that, but it's starting to evaporate, and we're probably only 3 minutes in, 3 to 5 minutes in, and this one is really evaporating. So it's not really close to a boil yet, but now I'll roll you to that time lapse. So you can see now, it's still, and this is only probably 6, 7, 8 minutes in. It's not quite at a boil, both of them, but you can see all that steam, and that's actually the water evaporating out of the sap. And then I'll let you know when it starts to boil. All right, so this is an update, and you can see there is some foam in there now. And again, that's impurities. You just want to scoop that out. I'll do that in a second. But now, if you can see over the smoke, it's starting to boil. And that's like 15 minutes. This thing is so powerful. And that's on close to low, and same with that. And it's just so powerful. It's glowing down there. And you can really see that all that evaporation has really started to go up, and there's so much. So it probably should be done in only an hour or so. Outside, that is, and then we'll bring it inside. Now you can see it's at a full rolling boil, and there's so much foam, which are the impurities, that I can't even keep up. You know, once I clear this one, then that one's full, and then same thing. And what I'm doing to measure the sap is I'm just taking a ruler, and you know, I measured it in the beginning, so then I measure that to see how much it is. So then, because you don't want to have like half an inch in there, or like 2 centimeters, because then it could start to burn the maple syrup and your whole batch could be ruined, which you really don't want, because you just spent a week collecting it. So you really don't want this. You really want to watch the line of it, and you don't want to turn it on too hot. I have it probably medium, and that's a little bit on the low side, but you can see it has no problem. This stove is amazing. It just keeps on going. And it's really, this one's not as much of a boil, but then when I turn it up, you can hear it gets a little too hot, so I don't want to, you know, risk anything, but this one's just doing really well. All right, so we've been boiling for about an hour now, and as you can see, there's no sap in there. That got down, both of them were about 1.5 inches, and I really don't want to burn it, so I just poured the burners off. I poured that into this one, so yes, this is a little full, but this is the strongest burner, and you can see it has no problem at a boil. And you can now finally start to see a difference of the color. So this is our first boil of the season, and the first is always going to be the lightest. So that might be what the finished product looks like. It really won't be light. There's different grades of syrup. You can look that up. It's crazy. And then 4 weeks from now, when we're boiling like this, we might have black syrup. Like, that's how dark. And the black is going to have more of a maple taste. So if you like to make barbecues or rubs, something like that, that would probably be best for it, where this and mid-season, that amber color is really good for making the actual, or putting it on the pancakes, I should say. All right, so you can see that it's getting pretty dark now. And again, it'll be really light the first time you boil. And we're probably down to 1.5 inches, maybe 1.25 inches. And that's roughly 1 gallon and 1.25 gallons, I should say. And we're gonna bring it in once it hits 1 gallon. And then we're putting it in the stock pot, and this is how you bring it in. This probably has sugar sand in it, so you want to filter that out. So here's the filter I have. This, you can get this on Amazon. These are just regular maple syrup filters. And then this is a filter holder. This is really handy because when you're pouring that hot liquid in, you don't want to have to be trying to, hold this and worry about being splashed. So you just put that over the stock pot, and I'll show you it. You just pick that up, pour it in there, and that'll get all the sugar sand out. And then you'll finish boiling it like this inside, because then that's a more controlled environment. Also, before we do this, I just want to shout out, thank you to my neighbors for letting me tap one of their trees, and a big thank you to my grandfather for helping me with all this, coming here and helping me with boiling and letting me tap most of his trees. So just a shout out and thank you all. All right, so we turned the burner off, and we already poured some in, but again, you just take that and pour it in there, and I'll show you that. So we're going to bring the sap in now to finish it off, because out here the burner's too strong, and we want to control it and make sure we don't burn it. So again, you just take this and pour it. You can see it has a little bit darker of a color. And then you just, again, pour it right in. And this is for the sugar sand. There's probably not too much right now, and it's flowing right through. Yeah. I think that's roughly 1/2 gallon. So now I'll show you it when we're inside.